for VFW Post 1679 and got to meet the vice commander back there, and just appreciate having this community of veterans that we can come and join and welcome us into such a beautiful venue. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's great to see some familiar faces. Great to welcome all of you who may be coming for the first time. I'm looking forward to our conversation tonight. I'll start out with a few. Earlier today in Manchester, we were at I guess it was a summit, a day-long summit hosted by an organization called No Labels. And the focus of this summit was around problem solving. Nonpartisan organization. They have folks who meet in Washington once a month, and really their main thing is, let's actually bring people together to solve problems. A novel concept these days, right? So it was I think there were over 1,000 people who came and showed up, people from all across New Hampshire, people all across party lines who were coming together and just saying, hey, let's stand together as Americans. We have different ideas on how to solve problems, we have different political affiliations, there are a lot of things that make us unique from one another, but really at our core, we stand together as fellow Americans who are interested in working for the well-being of our fellow Americans and for the interests of our country. It was a great conversation. They had a bunch of different speakers there. They had members of Congress there from both political parties. They had a few presidential candidates there from both political parties. And I think for me, it started out our day with exactly the right tone, because this is really the message that we've been bringing throughout our campaign, everywhere we go, is this message that I call about leading with aloha. Leading with aloha, you like that? What does that actually mean in a practical way? First of all, let's begin with aloha. Aloha. See, you can't say aloha without smiling, so already our day is better, right? I get asked, and I got asked this a lot actually when I was at basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I think I was the only female trainee there who's actually from Hawaii in that class. And so I was the girl from Hawaii, and I used to tell people aloha all the time. They're like, what does it mean, Tulsi? Does it mean hello or goodbye? Make up your mind. You guys say it all the time. But it actually means so much more than that. There's a reason why we start our conversations with aloha, why we bid farewell with aloha, is because of this powerful meaning of the word, which the literal translation, alo, means to share, and ha is the breath of life that exists within every one of us. So when we greet each other with aloha, it's a powerful message, recognizing that we are all connected. That regardless of the color of our skin, where we come from, how we worship, if we worship, who we love, the way we live our lives, setting all of that aside, at our core, we see that we are all connected, that we are all brothers and sisters. We are all children of God. And setting that foundation, then we can treat each other with respect. We're inspired to actually listen to one another, to be able to communicate, have dialogue, bring our ideas together and say, okay, how can we solve this problem together? Because that's what you do, right? With your family, with your friends, with those you love and those you care about. So leading with aloha is that reminder, living and leading with aloha, is that reminder of who we all are together. And it takes us back to our Pledge of Allegiance. At a time when our country is so terribly divided along all of these different lines, right? Racial, ethnic, religious, political, partisan, all of these different lines. You have people standing in one corner with people who are like them, turning their backs on everyone else. One tribe against the other, one team against the other. When that's really undermining who we all are as Americans, the foundation that our country was built upon. That when we recite this Pledge of Allegiance, what are we really saying? We're saying one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. These aren't just empty words. They actually mean something really powerful that are so important for us to remember at a time like this. At a time like this, when we are unfortunately so divided, let's come back and remember the values that this country was founded upon and what is required for us to strive towards that more perfect union. Recognizing that we have not achieved equality and justice for all, but we hope to. We are working in that direction, but we cannot accomplish that. We cannot solve the problems that we face. We cannot overcome the great challenges that exist for us, for our families, for our kids, for those who we care about, unless we come together and stand united. Stand united. And this is what really brings us all together here today, because we're concerned about the direction that our country's headed and what kind of future that we are leaving behind. Towards the end of the conference today, there was somebody who was leading kind of a focus group with the whole crowd there, and they asked the whole crowd, how many of you, and I'll ask you, how many of you feel that you are better off today than your parents? Than your parents were? You have more opportunities, maybe a better quality of life. And now how many of you believe that your children will be better off than you are today? A few of you. This was a similar response that we got earlier today in this crowd. There were a few people who felt like, okay, my kids will have more opportunities, but the vast majority of people really felt disheartened and less hopeful about the future. And this is why the choices that we have as voters are so important, because we get to set the direction for the leadership of our country. I think we often forget that sometimes, that it's we the people who get to hire or fire those who we elect into office, not the other way around, that we the people are the ones who really are the only people who have the power to be able to bring to fruition the vision that Abraham Lincoln had for us when he talked about a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is something that we don't have. The only way that we accomplish this is by gathering here in rooms like this, coming together, standing together as Americans to bring about this mandate, to bring about this change. Or we have leaders who are actually fighting for us. Not the government of, by, and for the rich and powerful that we have now, but really the government of, by, and for the people that we, the people, need and deserve. That's really what's at the core of our campaign. It's why I'm running for president. To be able to bring people together, to bring about the unifying kind of leadership that we need, to lead with aloha, treating each other with respect. Not looking out across the country and saying, well, you know what, I'm just going to hang out with Democrats and I'm only going to listen to Democrats because, you know, they're my tribe. No, I'm asking to serve all Americans. Looking out and not seeing deplorables, but seeing fellow Americans.
You're here.
The first week in office as president, I'll call for a meeting with Democrat and Republican leaders in the House and the Senate to begin the conversation, to begin that outreach based on respect, based on aloha. Just as I experienced in Congress, reaching out, building relationships, people on both sides of the aisle based on respect, understanding, hey, we may disagree, maybe on a few things, maybe on a whole lot of things, but if we can lay that foundation of respect and aloha, actually communicate, which is what? It's two things, requires two things, right? It's being able to accurately and clearly communicate your own thoughts, opinions, ideas. Just as importantly, it's about listening. There's not a whole lot of listening going on these days.